Welcome to another deep dive. And today we're going to be exploring something really potentially groundbreaking.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a technology that's being called the Thunderstorm Generator.
Wow.
And honestly, some of the claims surrounding it sound like they're straight out of science fiction.
Really? Like what?
Well, just imagine like an engine that cleans the air instead of polluting it. That's the kind of potential we're talking about here.
Wow, that's wild.
I know, right? And our main source for this deep dive is this really interesting interview with Randall Carlson.
Oh, yeah, I know Randall Carlson.
You know him.
Yeah, he's a researcher, right?
Yeah.
Does a lot of work with ancient mysteries.
Yeah, exactly. And, he's also known for being pretty skeptical.
That's true.
So when he gets excited about a new technology, we definitely pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. So what is this thunderstorm generator all about then? What's the big deal?
Well, it all has to do with plasma,
Plasma.
like the fourth state of matter.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's familiar with solids, liquids, and gases.
But plasma is kind of like the forgotten one.
Yeah, most people don't really think about it too much, I guess.
And it's basically what happens when you superheat a gas to the point where the electrons in the atoms break free.
Okay.
So think of things like the sun or the northern lights.
Yeah.
Those are actually examples of plasma in action.
Right.
So you've got this like supercharged state of matter.
Okay.
How does the thunderstorm generator actually use it? How do they like harness it?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. So the technology supposedly creates these self-contained structures of plasma,
Okay.
and they're shaped like little donuts.
Donuts.
Yeah, they're called plasmoids.
Plasmoids,
Just
And they do this through a process involving what are called cavitation bubbles.
cavitation bubbles. Okay.
So imagine tiny bubbles in a liquid, and they're collapsing really rapidly.
Okay.
This creates like intense pressure changes,
Right.
which can, under very specific conditions, generate those plasmoids.
Wow, so they're making these little plasma donuts? Yeah, pretty much.
But I still don't get how that translates to cleaning the air and making engines more efficient.
Well, that's where the claims get, I'll be honest, kind of extraordinary.
Okay.
So the inventor is suggesting that by integrating this system, this plasmoid system, into like existing engines,
Right.
you can reduce harmful emissions
Okay.
and at the same time increase the efficiency of the engine.
So it's like a win-win.
Yeah, potentially. And he even goes on to suggest applications in things like space travel,
Wow.
submarines,
Right.
even food production.
It's like this technology can do it all.
Well, that's what he's claiming, but
Yeah, I know. It does sound a little too good to be true.
right.
But Carlson claims he actually witnessed tests of this technology firsthand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he describes this controlled experiment
What?
with two generators,
Right.
and one of them was equipped with the Thunderstorm Generator tech, and the other wasn't.
So a control group.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
But this firsthand account is interesting, but I mean, we need to remember that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right?
Absolutely.
So what were the actual results of these tests?
Yeah. What happened?
Well, Carlson says they were using all sorts of like high-tech equipment
Okay.
to measure the exhaust coming out of the generators.
Okay.
And initially, both generators produced the typical pollutants you would expect.
Like carbon dioxide and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, all those nasty things.
Right.
But when they activated the thunderstorm generator on one of the engines,
Yeah.
the readings started changing drastically.
Really? Like how so?
Well, first the pollutants, like the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide,
Uh-huh.
those started dropping like significantly.
Wow.
And then, get this,
Okay.
the oxygen levels in the exhaust coming out of the modified generator
Yeah.
shot up to almost perfect breathable air levels.
No way.
Yeah. Carlson says that even the scientists and engineers that were there were totally baffled.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't explain what they were seeing.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So if those results can be replicated, by others
Yeah.
and independently verified,
Right.
this could be huge.
Yeah,
Like we could be talking about a major change in multiple industries.
for sure.
But we do need to kind of dig a little deeper
Right.
into the science
Yeah.
behind all of these claims.
That's a great point, and that's what we're going to be doing next. So stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive.
I'm ready. So before we jump into all the potential impacts of this thing,
Yeah.
we kind of have to address,
Yeah.
the elephant in the room, right?
The skepticism.
Exactly. I mean, history is full of these free energy inventions that just didn't pan out.
They never work.
Yeah, so why should we even think this
Wow.
one might be any different?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So what makes this case stand out?
Yeah, what makes this different from all those other ones?
Well, there are a few things.
Okay.
First, the fact that the inventor open sourced the technology.
Right.
That suggests a certain level of transparency
Yeah.
you don't often see
Yeah, that's true.
with these kinds of claims.
Right.
And then second, the fact that Mazda's involved,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of lends a little bit of credibility, right?
Zero.
I mean,
Right.
they're a big company, so
Yeah.
they're not just going to jump into anything.
Right.
And then third, we have those firsthand accounts
Yeah.
from people like Carlson
Right.
and even that high-performance metals expert.
Oh, George Lush.
Yeah, George Lush.
Yeah, you mentioned him earlier. What's his story?
Well, Lush, he specializes in high-performance metals,
Okay.
and he's known for being really meticulous.
So he's not easily convinced.
No, not at all. He was actually super skeptical of the Thunderstorm Generator at first.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
But then what he saw during testing,
Yeah.
it really challenged his skepticism.
What did he see?
Well, he describes measuring these impossible temperature changes.
Impossible.
Yeah. He was using a thermal analyzer, and the changes he was seeing just defied conventional physics.
Wow. So even a skeptic like Lush was convinced that something weird was happening.
Something extraordinary.
Yeah. That's pretty compelling.
It is. And it just goes to show that we really need to do some rigorous scientific investigation.
Right.
Because if these temperature anomalies are real,
Yeah.
understanding what's causing them,
Right.
that could be the key
Yeah.
to unlocking how this whole thing works.
That's true. So we have these intriguing pieces of evidence, right?
Yes.
We have the first-hand accounts.
We do.
But where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What needs to happen to really determine if this tech is viable?
Well, independent verification is absolutely crucial.
Of course.
We need other scientists to try to replicate those results.
Right.
And we need peer-reviewed studies.
Yeah.
That's how we separate real breakthroughs
Right.
from hype.
And wishful thinking.
Exactly.
Because even if the inventor is genuine,
Yeah.
there's always a chance for error, right?
For bias,
Yeah.
misinterpretation of the data.
Absolutely.
Carlson acknowledges all of this,
Right.
and he emphasizes that more research is definitely needed.
Yeah.
But let's just say, hypothetically,
Okay.
that the science checks out.
Okay.
This tech really works.
Mm-hmm.
What then?
Then we're talking about massive change.
Like, what kind of ramifications are we talking about?
Well, I mean, first off,
Yeah,
environmentally,
right.
this could be huge.
Okay.
We could see significantly reduced carbon emissions,
Wow.
cleaner air,
Yeah.
less reliance on fossil fuels.
That's incredible.
It would be a monumental shift.
But it would also be disruptive.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what would happen to the fossil fuel industry?
Well, they'd have to adapt,
Yeah.
or they could become obsolete.
Yeah.
And then what about global power dynamics?
Right. Because energy dependence would completely change.
Exactly. It would be a period of intense transformation.
For sure.
And not without its challenges. Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder if we're even ready.
For that kind of change.
Yeah, for such a rapid, widespread shift.
I don't know.
I mean, look at how technology is already disrupting things.
Yeah, it can lead to a lot of unrest.
Right, especially when the benefits aren't shared equally.
That's why it's so important to think about the ethical implications.
Where it start?
Yeah, we need to make sure this technology, if it works, benefits everybody.
Not just a select few.
Exactly.
And we have to address issues of access, affordability, equity.
Right, from the get-go.
Yeah, these are important conversations to have.
Absolutely.
And it seems like they're already starting to happen.
Which is good.
Yeah. So while the potential benefits are super exciting,
Yeah,
we also need to proceed with caution
always.
and really have these tough conversations about the implications.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But there's one more aspect we haven't even touched on yet.
Oh, what's that?
The connection to ancient knowledge.
Ah, yes. The idea that ancient civilizations might have had similar technologies.
It's pretty wild. So Carlson mentions that the optimal angle
Uh-huh.
for this one component in the Thunderstorm Generator,
Yeah.
it's 51.84 degrees.
Okay.
And that's the same angle as the slope of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy coincidence,
Yeah,
really.
it is.
And Carlson suggests it might be more than just a coincidence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's speculating that ancient cultures maybe understood and harnessed this technology in ways that we're only now starting to rediscover.
That's fascinating.
It is.
But we got to be careful, right?
About what?
About jumping to conclusions.
Right.
Just because two things share a characteristic
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're related.
Right. Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Exactly.
So we can't get carried away with speculation.
Well.
But it does raise a very interesting question.
With that.
If this tech is real, what does that say about our understanding of history and the potential for lost and rediscovered knowledge?
That's a big one.
Yeah, it really does make you think, for sure.
Like, are we just scratching the surface?
Yeah, who knows what else is out there?
Like, what other knowledge might have been lost and then rediscovered?
Right. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle.
Yeah, but with, like, huge chunks missing.
Exactly. But we gotta remember,
Yeah.
the Thunderstorm Generator itself
Right.
still needs to be validated.
Yeah. The science has to come first.
Absolutely. If the tech doesn't work,
Then all the historical connections don't really matter.
they're interesting. But
Kind of pointless.
yeah, but let's just imagine for a second
Okay.
that it does work.
Okay, so we're going full hypothetical now.
Yeah, for the sake of argument.
Let's say the Thunderstorm Generator is real.
Uh-huh.
What kind of world would that be?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the environment.
Okay.
The impact could be massive.
In a good way.
Yeah. Think about it.
Okay.
Reduce carbon emissions.
Yeah.
Cleaner air. We wouldn't have to rely on fossil fuels so much.
Wow.
I mean, that alone would be huge. It's almost hard to imagine
I know, right?
like what that world would look like.
Yeah, it would be a completely different world.
But there would also be disruptions, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like what happens to all the industries that are built around fossil fuels?
Right. They'd have to adapt.
Yeah.
Figure out something else to do.
Or they just disappear.
Potentially, yeah.
And then there's the whole global power dynamic thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Because if energy dependence changes,
Everything changes.
it's scary, honestly.
It is. It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, like, are we even ready for that kind of change?
As a species? I don't know.
We've already seen how technology can cause upheaval.
Right, when it's not handled properly.
Exactly. That's why those ethical considerations are so crucial.
Yeah, we can't just focus on the tech itself.
Right. We have to think about the social impact, too.
And we have to make sure that everyone benefits.
Not just the people who can afford it.
Absolutely. We have to be really intentional about how we implement this.
If it even works.
All right, that's the big if.
But even if it doesn't,
Yeah.
I think it sparks some really important conversation.
For sure. And I hope those conversations continue.
Me too. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that
What?
we're not just talking about some new gadget.
No. This is bigger than that.
Yeah, this is like potentially a turning point.
In human history.
It's that big.
Yeah, I think so.
And it feels like we have a choice to make.
About what kind of future we want.
Exactly. Like, do we want to keep going down the same path?
Or do we want something different?
Something more sustainable?
More equitable?
Yeah, those are big questions.
It's huge questions.
And I don't know if we have all the answers yet.
No, but it's important to ask them.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope you learned something new.
I know I did.
And hopefully you're leaving with even more questions.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Because that's what keeps us learning and exploring.
Absolutely. Curiosity is key.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Keep those minds open.
And keep exploring.
We'll see you soon for another deep dive.